Welcome to November's edition of 4 and 4. I'm Kathy Halgren, Director of South St. Paul Public Library, and this month's titles feature some demonologists, a professor looking for love in all the wrong places, servants of 19th century England, and a young boy who makes a terrible choice. My first book is John Searles' Help for the Haunted. It is not your typical ghost story, so don't be scared away. This book is more about believing what you want to be true and creating a world around that belief. Teenaged Sylvia and Rose are both trying to grow up in the Mason house, and their parents are known as demonologists. It's not unusual for the family to get phone calls in the middle of the night from people who ask for their help, and they give lectures on their recent cases. But not all is well in the Mason household. One evening the phone rings, and it's Rose asking her parents to come to a local church. What happens next is a mystery, but both of her parents end up dead, and Sylvie can't make any sense of it. She believes she saw a man who had asked for help in the past, and he's rounded up and placed in jail. But something bothers Sylvie, and she's not so sure she's a reliable witness. Her mission? To discover just who her family is and how her father became so convinced he could eradicate bad spirits in the hopes of finding the real killer. If you like The Big Bang Theory, you'll love The Rosie Project by Australian author Graeme Simsion. As I read this book, I couldn't stop thinking I was reading a book written by Sheldon of Big Bang fame. I have here the audiobook since the book has many holds, but if you enjoy listening to a reader with an accent, this is a treat. Don Tillman is a genetics professor with a problem. Well, more than one. But he's 39 and thinks it's time to find a wife, and so he goes about it the only way he knows how, scientifically, of course. He designs the Wife Project, a 16-page questionnaire that will weed out the smokers, drinkers, and just about everyone else. Then he meets Rosie and mistakenly thinks his friend Jean has sent her over as a potential candidate, and he immediately asks her out. Rosie is everything Don thinks he doesn't want. And the two of them are hysterically funny together as they try to figure out who Rosie's biological father is. She has a clue, but her mother would not tell her his identity, and she wants to know in the worst way. So they're off to track down and swab the men in her mother's medical school graduating class. I guarantee you will enjoy this book or audiobook, as Don fears that he truly is incapable of love since he just can't connect like everyone else seems to do so effortlessly. In the end, does he decide he must control everything in his environment? Or is it more fun to live with a little chaos? For all those Jane Austen fans out there, here's a book for you. Joe Baker has reimagined Pride and Prejudice from the viewpoint of the Help, and quite successfully, I'd say, in Longbourn. As the Bennets struggle to maintain their status in the community with their 5 daughters, the Help struggles to keep up with all their demands. The story is primarily narrated by Sarah, a young servant who was taken in by the Bennets when she was orphaned at 6. Mr. and Mrs. Hill are the head of the servants, which also comprise of even younger Polly, another orphan, and the newly arrived James. James, a diligent worker, appears to be on the lam, or at least harboring a secret, especially when the army comes to town. Set in the 1800s, you get a feel for what it took to run a household in England, down to the last disagreeable detail. But Baker makes it all interesting, with chapters on the Peninsular War, and of course a little romance thrown in. And I think the Downton Abbey crowd would also enjoy this novel, where we hope Sarah will live out her dreams. I've been anxiously awaiting Diane Setterfield's new novel, Bellman in Black, because I love the way she writes. You may remember her, The 13th Tale. This tale starts out with William Bellman as a young boy showing off to his friends. He bets he can hit a bird in a tree with his slingshot, never thinking he really will, but he does, and the bird drops down dead. Life goes on for Bellman, and he actually becomes quite a success until his luck runs out. He becomes obsessed with his business and money, and his new business partner, known as Black. Is he bargaining with the devil? There's a definite Dickens feel to this novel, and some have not enjoyed it as much as her first book. I'll let you decide. That's all for this edition of 4 and 4. See you in January with 4 more titles in 4 minutes.